here in Poland at Katowice. We saw the KT Bullets lift that cup. And at that point in time, I ranked them about 8th or 9th place in Korea, and they ran that tournament without losing a game. We saw that same year, SK Telecom, who had been knocked out of champions at that point in the season, come through and win All-Stars at the time without losing a game. And they were about 8th place in Korea at that time, and I think we're seeing a similar trend now. In Season 5, I think it was a bit different. We saw so many players, about 50, leave Korea for all these other regions, including every single player on the top 2 teams of Samsung White and Blue. And then we don't have that same kind of exodus this year. We've had new players who have risen through the ranks and accepted the mantle of pro gamers on these teams, and it just isn't the same anymore. I think we're just sort of regressing back to where we were in Season 4.
I think what we've really learned is that if we look at the past, few years of IEMs, is that we really need from Korea the #1 team to stay in Korea. That doesn't work out. That apparently doesn't work out if they come here. And we just need like the mid-tier, ones. They're the ones that they're like, well, we'll go and play some games, see how it goes. Too much pressure on the #1 team.
We'll call Russia a fluke. We'll call that a fluke because at Worlds,
they were so good in Korea, and then at Worlds, right? Yep.
Turned it around and Rox Tigers showed up. But now, what's your take on SKT, Doa? Because with Blank, they look really good. They're in control. You can argue that maybe they're finding some synergy that they didn't have in Korea, and the fact that their opponents are arguably weaker. But what's your take on like SKT as a team and their power level? How above or below 9,000 do you believe it is?
Well, right now, I'd say it's a little bit below. And it's tough for me to say that, but I have to admit that these guys, right now, they're not the team that won Worlds last year. Obviously, they've got big problems in the jungle. Bengi has always been a jungler that's kind of risen and fallen with the meta, and they're really trying to make Blank work. It feels like for SKT, they see Blank as kind of their future in the jungle, and it's a great opportunity for them to get him out here, get some experience in front of a big crowd like that. And I'm just surprised that Blank is actually performing as well as he is, because in Korea, in the games we saw there, he just did not look good. It looked real bad for SKT before this tournament.
Yeah, he didn't do anything.
Yeah.
Straight up, extraordinarily low kill participation, playing some carry junglers. He played Elise and Kindred only this season in Korea, but he had virtually no impact on the game. And I didn't expect to see him have this level of performance here at all. So when we talk about SK Telecom going back to Korea now, they do seem to be synergizing better. I do think they're going to have a better second round robin than they had it the first time around, that's for sure.
So talk to me about then Blank's champion pool, the differences between playing in Korea and playing here, because it feels like he's had a phenomenal impact in every single game. Is that because as a team they've been able to research and read their opponents and feed information to Blank, or do you feel he's finding his feet, he's got his balance, and now he's able to impact the game as he did probably in solo queue?
I don't really know, because I don't know what happened during these last 2 weeks for SK Telecom. You have to remember that they didn't show any games on this latest patch. They had plenty of time to sort of prepare in secret and use Blank consistently and really, really work on perhaps those synergy or those nerves issues. So I don't know what happened over that period of time, but those 2 weeks off where I think they had an opportunity, a unique opportunity in the middle of the season to really evaluate where they were as a team and make adjustments that might take a week or two. I could tell you, from coaching a team, from owning a team, that making adjustments in the middle of the season is extraordinarily difficult, because you're trying to engineer the plane while it's already in flight. You built this thing to take off, it's in the air, there's an emergency, and it is hell to try and fix all of these different parts that may not be working, especially if you have to, get a new player that is entirely different in style to what we see from Bengi. That's hard to do. So I think this little break really was quite useful for them.
Yeah, it certainly showed out that way.
Well, part of it too is that, this is SK Telecom we're talking about. This is an organization that for over a decade now has been able to take aspiring pro gamers and turn them into some of the best pro gamers that we've seen in multiple games. So we've seen it on SK Telecom in League of Legends before, where players have come up and they maybe didn't look the greatest. You think about Bang and Wolf. On SK Telecom S, they were good, yeah, but they never really reached the heights that they reached, last year and now. And SK Telecom just seems like this organization that's able to take players with potential and really make that work,
Yeah, beyond a shadow of a doubt. Update for you guys at home and watching. The players are backstage. They are busy getting set up with Shock, so we will be jumping to those player introductions in just a moment or two. But we've been asking all week long. I've been getting experts to predict on who they thought were going to win. We'll pull the numbers up for what you guys are predicting at home. I'm pretty sure that Fnatic will come out ahead in this one.
Sneaking suspicion.
71%. That was not the most difficult prediction that I've ever needed to make. But as you can see, the players just getting themselves settled and running to the final steps.
Not too many Chinese fans, I think, watching the English stream here, getting into these.
Who would have guessed?
Who knew? Where's the Weibo vote?
Who would have guessed?
Twitter? It's blocked in China.
2 billion votes for RNG. Yeah.
So let's bring ourselves back then to the semi-final that is just about to get set up. Fnatic will be taking on Royal Never Give Up. I will get your opinions on that in just a moment. For now, let's head down to Shocks.
Thank you very much, Trevor. It is indeed time to find out who our second finalist will be here in Katowice. Are you guys ready to meet the teams? We will see who joins SKT in that grand final. First up, from the Chinese LPL, led by former world champion Mana, Royal Never Give Up. Next up, a team that has a huge history with the Intel Extreme Masters. They found themselves at the brink of defeat multiple times yesterday, but they fought their way back just so they could play on this stage in front of all of you. Ladies and gentlemen, give it up for Team Fnatic. Let's get this semifinal started one more time for RNG and Fnatic.
Thank you so much, Shocks. Somewhat of a home field advantage here for Fnatic. At the end of the day, yesterday, the players were talking about how Spirit in particular was saying the energy from the crowd was pumping them up and getting them to play. I'm sure we're going to hear some Fnatic chants throughout the game. Let's talk about some picks and bans. Fnatic are on red side, and that somewhat maybe helps them in some ways if they can get their hands on some of the picks, because yes, blue side can target ban, but there's a lot of champions you have to theoretically target ban and maybe run the risk of letting something through, Monte Cristo.
Ban Jhin, ban Rammus, first pick Nautilus. That's what I think they should do. This is going to be a comfort pick for Looper. Certainly you're going to leave some other power picks up, but I think you should be more afraid of those picks in particular than standard picks, I feel, from Fnatic.
Yeah, I mean, the question is, does anybody really have a ton of planning preparation for a composition that revolves around Jhin right now? You know, he's just not seen in a lot of regions. So absolutely got to ban that away. I agree, you know, you take out the Rammus, you do something about the Nautilus too, and you really force Fnatic to go back to compositions that we've seen this weekend haven't worked out quite the best, or, you know, you just put them on stuff that, you know, you think you're prepared against.
So where does the Lee Sin factor into this discussion then? Is it ban-worthy? Is it steal-worthy? Is MLXG going to be happy going toe-to-toe saying, right, come at me, Spirit?
I think MLXG has been playing really well so far. Maybe it is worth taking away, but I don't think Royal is going to see it that way in the first game of this series. I think they're going to want to try playing against it. Spirit was great on Lee Sin yesterday. I hope he gets to play it just because I want to see it again. That's,
oh yeah,
that's more than anything. But I don't think they're going to see it as a huge priority.
Well, I think so too. I mean, the thing is are we going to see the Spirit strategy from Fnatic of losing the first game so he can spend more time on stage? You know, he just wanted to play more games.
Spirit approved.
So we might see that strategy again.
They absolutely have to make that into a t-shirt, because I think that was my favorite quote of the event. You know why we lost the first game? So we can play more games.
Also to make it more exciting for their fans. It's
Oh,
more
yes.
dramatic.
They're
that
so
way.
considerate.
Hey, Cloud9
Okay.
applied to that theory for all of last year.
It was exciting.
Only to crush and depress everyone in week 2 of the World Championship. So, Fnatic, they will be on the red side. They will need to look at some things to target towards Royal Never Give Up. We've talked a lot about Fnatic's strengths. What are Fnatic considering as ban-worthy against Royal Never Give Up? They only saw 2 games, and they were slightly different team comps, and the red side. So they've got all of this extra pressure to worry about, Monty. Yeah,
that's-
exactly.
It does get a little bit tougher taking a look at that. We did see Ever take out the Zed. Xiaohu has been playing it recently, but I don't think the Xiaohu was as impressive on Zed as he has been on Corki. I think Corki has to be a ban here for Fnatic, because even though I was imploring them, I was begging them, please, please, please take that Corki yesterday.
You regretted that decision.
They don't know how to use it.
Yeah.
So if you don't know how to use the Corki, I liked a lot what we saw from Xiaohu's Corki. Just make sure that that doesn't actually get used, because you can either play against it or use it yourself. So that is something I would take out immediately.
Yes.
Yeah. Seems like they're just good at the power picks, right? I mean, Quinn's maybe something you want to be a little bit worried about too, but just worry about the power picks. Alistar, Lissandra, the standard stuff, and kind of see what goes from there. Because again, we've only seen 2 games from RNG this tournament, so they might have something a little bit different, and I think it's on Fnatic to kind of try to force that out as soon as possible.
And it's super interesting as well, because both games that RNG have played in the group stage were on red side. So we've not actually seen them on the blue side on this stage. We know that, I actually think there's a fairly strong likelihood that maybe Fnatic would have scrimmed against RNG. They were in different groups.
Yep.
So coming into
be.
the tournament, maybe there is some experience that we're not privy to at this stage. But the priorities from Origin and from Ever was the Lissandra, the Poppy, the Nidalee, then the Zed, the Nautilus, the Thresh. So if Ever we're banning Nautilus, and we've seen what Gamsu can do on Nautilus, that might be a pivotal pick. Because Nautilus, when it was not available, Gamsu went to Rammus. I don't think it was that okay.
It was all right. I think he did well with it. He actually did get some pretty good taunts that helped them win some of those games. I don't think it's as strong as the Nautilus, but I just think you ban it anyway, because why put Gamsu on something else? That's what he's been successful on. Those 2 champions have gotten Fnatic those wins. Don't give them to him again. And we know that they have that priority. So Nautilus is the big pick here. I think it will be first pick, or it will be banned by Fnatic in this game.
Banned by Fnatic. Possibility. I like the Quinn that you were mentioning, because Febiven.
Strong pick.
Yep.
Yeah, Febiven ran it. We saw Royal Never Give Up using it to take down. It was Ever in a fairly convincing fashion. We're about 30 seconds away, hopefully, from picks and bans, ladies and gentlemen, and it will be Royal Never Give Up. If we step back and we look at some of the prep that we had for this team coming in, they sort of surprised in that last week of LPL. What's your take on how much that can impact the team? Your local scene and then traveling internationally, does it carry through or not really?
Well, I'm kind of wondering if we're going to see what I call the looper effect, where this guy randomly, he does like to teleport into a 1v3 under turret. Like, it does happen. So we'll see if Fnatic can kind of keep their eye on for some, we'll say gifts that Looper may want
Gifts.
to
I like
bestow
that.
upon them. Some pleasant gifts, some happy accidents, if you were. If Mata doesn't have firm control over Looper's TP button, things can go south a little bit.
Yeah, I think we'll find that out. Doa and Monte Cristo, we will be jumping into picks and bans right now. Let me kick this off. Royal Never Give Up have taken away Lee Sin and Thresh, so that's Cly, and Spirit being targeted. Lissandra and Nidalee is the follow-up from Fnatic.
Okay, yeah, just taking away some of the power picks from RNG right now. There's a Nautilus ban. Okay, so we're not even going to need to worry
Very
about
different
that, I
than
guess.
what I thought.
Yeah, interesting. One more ban over to Fnatic. Lulu. Okay.
So they have the opportunity. But see, here's the thing. If they first pick the Kalista, they know that Jhin is going to be coming.
Yeah. That's surprising.
This was the whole draft strategy that Fnatic went through in their battle with Chao Gu.
So do they have an answer, or are they not prepared? I guess we'll find out.
Or are they perhaps overconfident in their ability to play into this matchup? I'm really surprised to see this. Now, taking out the Thresh, when Cly was playing Alistar, he did make a lot of errors. But they actually banned the Lissandra, so he can't actually punt the Lissandra back into his team this game, which I suppose it's a,
Yeah, that wasn't a
small
great idea when
benefit.
that happened, was it? Yeah.
And
Hey, you
happy
might go with the
accident.
L-Star anyway. Huh.
Few seconds. Last time that Fnatic played Gangplank, it was into H2K.
That was
and
so
it was
bad.
a bad decision against a team that pushes waves constantly and you know, such late scaling. But I think it'll be switched away.
Yeah, I want to see more of the early game aggressive Fnatic, not any more of this, we're going to scale with all these champions in the late game. It hasn't been working for them. They need to play more dominant right out of the gate. And Alistar and Gragas are going to be the picks. Pretty expected.
I want to see the Jhin at least once. I want to see
It's
what
coming.
this Jhin
You don't
can do.
even.
I don't think I'm going to need to worry about it. That's
It
true.
is coming.
All right. Well, we might see the Graves for RNG picked up here.
Graves, one of MLXG's
Yeah.
most picked champions in this spring season. And of course, the Brahma, pretty common pick here. I still think that Royal is going to take Corki here eventually, but they want to see one of the solo lanes where they commit. It could be a jungle rumble.
Interesting. Haven't seen that yet this tournament. We've seen it a lot in other regions, but nope, it will be the Graves. So 2 picks over to Fnatic. The Cassiopeia would be a bit of a surprise, but here's where Fnatic kind of puts the cards on the table, I think.
That Graves undefeated in MLXG's hands, 7-0 in the local LPL. So a lot of games under his belt and really good statistics across the board.
Waiting for Fnatic to make a decision here. The Rammus is still up too, but you know, how appealing really is a Rammus in this situation?
They have 280 carries, so you do have a lot of choices. Obviously, with a lot of the physical damage coming in, Rammus can itemize very successfully against them. It will be really difficult to kill as it stands right now. But we know that Royal's going to get another damage type in there at some point in time. And the scary thing, too, is there's a possibility that the Graves goes top lane into the Rammus, and that Rammus's early wave clear is obviously incredibly poor.
Oh, there we go. Zed and Jhin locked in. So Febiven going to be taking the Zed to the mid lane.
He did have a great game on Zed yesterday, and it was really awesome to see him on that champion. He was able to follow up on so many kills and get very, very fed.
So
But it's blind.
It is. It is a little bit risky.
And Xiaohu's most played is LeBlanc. Does he take the challenge?
The LeBlanc Zed challenge. I like it. I always
love
like seeing
watching
that matchup, but it's fun to see which players have the confidence to attempt to pull that one off.
Might see the Pantheon challenges set. The Victor's still available. Obviously, a lot of wave clear there, and they'll lock it in. The Poppy will be going to Looper up in the top lane. Okay, so final pick for Fnatic. I'd love to have it be Blitzcrank, but I would love that.
Clyde has
That would
been
be
hovering
great.
over Blitzcrank this entire
I know.
tournament so far.
It's torturing me, man, but it won't be. They need a top laner. Trundle, I think, fits the bill.
Yeah, they're going to take a Trundle into a tank and just try and sap those stats later on. They take the Jhin early because they want to see whether the top laner is going to be that Graves or whether it's going to be a tank that they can play Trundle into. So Fnatic, they have a really strong 1-3-1 split push composition here. Obviously, Zed and Trundle can get absolutely huge. Should see Reckless building that static Shiv and just holding on to the mid lane. But that assassination potential, if Zed all-ins anybody, and Reckless is there with the curtain call, he can even bind somebody from very, very far away to set up kills for Zed. It's an exciting combination of champions.
And we saw him hit those so well yesterday, the ultimates, the W as well on Jhin. So you really need to be careful about the amount of burst and finishing power that Fnatic has here.
So Doa, it's about 20 seconds left. It seems
Okay.
as though you and I are, not penchant or native analysts. I think we gang up on
Maybe.
Monty and make
Could be.
him have the predictions. And
Okay.
then we berate him or celebrate him if he's right or wrong. Do you think that's fair?
I'm ready for this.
Okay,
I'm
so
ready. Let's do it.
Monty, who's going to win?
I actually really like Fnatic's
You're wrong.
composition here.
Oh, wait, I'll let you finish first. Go ahead.
So I, based on the play that we saw, I don't like this draft. I don't like the bans from Royal. I think they're cocky and they're not taking away Fnatic's strengths. What we saw from Fnatic with Jhin and Zed yesterday was excellent. I think we're gonna see it again. I think Fnatic's gonna take this win.
All right, do we accept that, Doa? I guess so.
I'm used to this guy being right, so checks out. I
Okay,
guess.
right.
Let him get away with it. We'll see.
We will rate him after this game. For now, we're going to head to the caster desk to take us into game.
sir, I've managed to find 2 supports to carry me through this one. It's going to be RNG going up against Fnatic. Now, a lot of concerns here in the pick and ban phase for you guys. I'm going to start with you, Fisher, as well. Definitely looks like RNG want to get rid of some of those comfort picks for Fnatic.
Yeah, I like the bans. Lee Sin against Spirit because he was so good on it, and the Thresh as well, because I think that was a big part of the strong 2v2 lane Fnatic had, was Cly actually playing Thresh, getting that range support. I just don't like this Victor pick into Zed, because Victor has to itemize for early hourglass. It sets him really far behind, and he cannot stop a side lane split push at all. I think Victor in general is fairly weak against 1-3-1 comps. So I'm surprised it was the pick. Clearly Fnatic expected that there weren't many counters on the table for Xiaohu against this blind pick Zed.
Yeah, we saw kind of the Pantheon hover, but that would just make it so that Gamsu in the top lane would just lock that Rammus again. Start playing that.
Yeah, and now we gotta see also this Jhin without a Thresh next to him against Kalista, because a lot of people here they look at Jhin as a lane counter to Kalista. Good early trading. If you can very easily predict her jump early game when she's very slow at jumping, and then land that snare with the W, and you kind of all in her.
And there's respect for that Jhin pick coming here though from RNG, because they are initiating the lane swap with Deep Vision. So this is really telling that they actually just won, or seemingly won the lane swap.
Yeah, I mean, RNG, you know, they're considered in China decent with their lane slot, but we've already had some concerns brought up, I think, about how RNG go about that. And, you know, we said we actually saw that Xiaogu didn't want to pick Kalista into this Fnatic Jhin. Could either of you guys maybe shed some light on why they're so afraid of that?
Again, a lot of it for me looks at, first of all, Jhin is super good at doing a camp early on, and then walking into lane, and you can last hit the first 3 melee minions with your grenade, and kind of bounces between them, because the minions will always spread out and hit each other now on the first wave. So he's very good at getting level 2 spike.
He has a really good level 2 power spike. He's just a strong trader. Like, Kalista generally, the only few matchups that she loses is people that can out-trade her short. So like, she used to have a hard time into Misfortune, for example.
And also Kalista is a pick who's actually really weak if she's behind. So you pick her because you want to get ahead in laning phase, and then when there are a AD carry who can out-trade you in the early game and also snare you, which is the counter against the mobility, then you decide this is not a great matchup for Kalista. We want to pick maybe an Ezreal who could then scale up to late game and have more impact there. I still think Kalista is a good pick though. I think most Kalista players would most like to be able to go even in lane, especially against an Alistar. But we do have the lane swap in this game here from RNG, and we got to see how it pans out.
Well, so far, not so good for Looper, as we will have the pause here. It's just as well, because plenty to discuss here in the early stages. At least the lane swap means that no one's got to get too far behind in terms of those AD carries.
This is my cough button there for a second.
Was it a cough or a laugh? I can't quite tell.
No, it's a small cough.
Right.
Because I disagreed with you.
Yes, well, that's okay. You're allowed to do that, of course. Susie Clyde took a couple extra turret hits there as well. And,
yeah, he's a little low. So if we gotta start criticizing these lane swaps when absolutely nothing's happening, we start counting the amount of tower shots people randomly take. So Clyde took 2 tower shots, so technically...
Two black marks for him, right? Well,
I don't hate it if...
Yeah, if the timing works out.
Right,
for the minions,
exactly.
yeah.
If your minion wave is close enough to dying that you would have to actually move away from the tower, wait for the next wave, and then move back in, then I'd rather have you take a few tower shots. Obviously, don't die to it.
There is that mechanic in the game where it's always better to take the tower shots in between rather than at the end, because when there's minions around the tower, the armor actually drops. So that's why it's easier for you to kill towers with minions around it as opposed to backdooring. That's why we sometimes see these comic executes, by the way, because they're hitting the tower. They're like, okay, 50 damage. You know, there's 150 HP left. You know, they do the math. That's 3 hits. The minions go down. Oopsie, my attacks now do only like 37 damage, 30 damage. Suddenly, I die to turret.
Now, we have seen a North American team try and execute a very specific lane swap strategy on the first tower, where you actually let the tower execute you.
Yeah, and
I'm sure it was on purpose.
to use that strategy,
not,
you obviously need to use Summoner Heal too to really make.
Yes, exactly, because you got to make sure that it looks like you're actually fighting the tower. You then pop the heal. In the end, though,
There is a counter to that strategy.
if you do die to the tower, it's actually faster than backing early on.
The counter to that strategy is obviously to engage Rift Herald, 2-man on low HP.
Yes. Which team was it? Is there a guy in here who maybe owns that?
Yeah, I don't think anybody knows.
No. I
We'll
think
revert to the analyst desk.
Banditos, something. I'm not too sure what they're called.
he's willfully ignorant here. Does look like The issues have been sorted out, guys. We're going to be jumping back into game in a second. Fun fact for you guys, of course, normally we see RNG in the LPL, they're behind at 10 minutes. They have a deficit of gold, and then at 20 minutes, they have the highest lead in the LPL.
Yeah.
What happens in that 10-minute window that gives them such a big boost?
I know. They kill people and they take towers.
Basically, I mean, the first 10 minutes is setting up lanes for them and then setting up that deep vision with Marta and MLXG moving into the jungle. Obviously, you don't get any kills by placing the ward at the moment you place it, but then a minute later, when you then catch someone out of position because you can spot them, that's where they start picking up the kills, most likely after the 10 minutes, and that's where they start getting these gold leads and set up tower dives and pushing towers with like a Graves, who will farm a lot here from MLXG, and then they start really snowballing out of control. And then, of course, you gotta rush the 20-minute Baron if you are RNG.
Little duel here. Spirit walks in. We'll see, very hard to deal with MLXG on that Graves. I really like what he does together with Xiaohu. Usually, if at least one of them brings CC to the table, because their jungler mid synergy is so pleasant to watch. Week 1 he was playing the Graves, but then it was LeBlanc on Xiaohu, and they really made some fantastic pickoffs overall. This time, though, I don't think he's going to get too much traction in the mid lane against the Zed, because there's no crowd control on that Victor.
And we're gonna get a CS advantage for Gamsu, because Fnatic were that much quicker on taking down that tower, so he will pick up a bit extra before he gets forced away by Bush on this Kalista. And then we just again have very standard swap around with the lane swap. So now it's not about the tier 2 tower, the second tower going down. It's gonna be about what happens after the next tier 1 goes down. Like, where do you swap your AD carry to? Can you aim for maybe another tier 2?
This stage, we did see a little bit of an invade there. Of course, Spirit made his way towards the jungle with Cly in tow, and he's actually continuing that now. He's already got himself through. He managed to push MLXG away, who's probably going to be looking to farm quite heavily, I dare say, in this early stage.
Oh yeah, he will. He always farms super heavily on Graves. 100% win rate, by the way. Played it 7 times in the LPL, most played jungler. But right now, as we see him kill that poor Raptor, doesn't stand much of a fight and against, or much of a chance against the shotgun. You can see how far behind RNG actually is on getting to this tower. Fnatic is already taking the top tower down to like 15%, and they're gonna kill it very, very quickly compared to what RNG can do. And that just, again, gives more farm to Gamsu, because he will get more time to sit there before someone comes and pushes him away.
It's that Alistar pick, man. Just a trample on the tower. Really, all these bits helping out.
And now we're gonna see a very standard European play. Instead of pushing in for a tier 2 on top side, you bounce the wave again, give it to your top lane, and then you take a Rift Herald. What you want to do now is give it to your jungler. In this case, they actually seem to not do it, which is a little bit surprising. It kind of does the same.
I think what they want to do right now is get a 4-man group on the bottom lane and just go for that tier 2 tower, and they're going to use that wave that's pushing in right now.
Yes.
So Looper's pushing that wave. That wave's going to be caught by Reckless. It's going to bounce, and it's going to be stacked up into multiple waves. Together with the Herald buff, they kind of want to set their eyes potentially on tier 2 bot lane.
My problem with giving to the AD carry is that's exactly the play they're looking to make, but you want to give it to your jungler so you can actually get faster back into the jungle, do 2 or 3 camps, and then also kind of surprise the enemy, because you're going to have your AD carry support build up this wave, push it into tier 2, and then the jungler shows up and buffs up all the minions, and it's very hard for teams who haven't seen the Rift Herald strategy before then react. You see it now from Reckless already, so RNG should know what's coming.
Well, MLXG might be in a bit of trouble. Here's the ground and pound. Cly's coming forward and exhaust on towards MLXG, and Fnatic walk this one big time. MLXG, nowhere to go. First blood, Fnatic.
I mean, look at the minimap. On the top lane, we see Kalista, we see the Braum right there. MLXG knows this push is going to come in the bottom. Okay, guess what? The Herald buff is on Reckless.
RNG's lost right now. They're completely lost on the map. They have no clue what's happening, because they're trying to mirror what Fnatic is doing, but Fnatic has the Rift Herald buff and a massive minion
They're not
wave
even
on
trying to
bottom
mirror.
side.
Like, MLXG is just completely lost in between. Yeah, the dual lane is in the top side because they're just not used to playing out this phase of the lane swap, and now we see exactly what Fnatic set up literally a minute and a half ago by taking that Herald.
I thought as soon as they saw Reckless getting the Rift Herald and buffing the minions when he came bot lane, they would actually have an idea what was happening.
But you make the classic mistake. You assume that these Chinese teams actually use the information that's on the map.
They're going to go in there as well, looking for MLXG. He's in the mix, and Gamsu gets the teleport in. MLXG not having a good time at all. Gamsu takes him down. Looper trying to help Marta in some way, but he's forced to flash. Spirit wants to chase, doesn't get the slow. But Xiaohu, he's going to get pressured. Forbidden coming out of nowhere. Now the damage really coming down. It's another kill going towards Gamsu. A curtain called as well. Fnatic are all over this. Looper just gets away.
Flashing the crit in the end here, but Fnatic, they get everything they want. Rift Herald buff into pushing bottling. We see it time and time again in Europe. And then the response from RNG is like, let's try and fight our way out. Let's go down, try and defend this tower by moving 3-man in, but it's too easy for Fnatic when they have all 5 members around the bottom side to take that fight, because Kalista is sitting top with obviously no global.
Yeah.
And Gamsu TP's into, so Fnatic in complete control. At any given point, could they always opt out of this play? So they only went for it because they knew it would work. They had everything set up. The play was telegraphed, but still executed perfectly, and this is something we were lacking from Fnatic over in European LCS. It was some of these bigger picture plays where the entire team had to work together. But look at this, the ward's there already. Gamsu is in the mid lane, but he's gonna TP over. Fevivan will make his way over, and at this point, with Whoosh stuck in the top lane, solo pushing on one of the stronger early traders in the game, yeah, obviously it's gonna be very hard for RNG to even get one single kill in this fight.
And Kalista didn't even get the tower. She didn't have time. Her minion wave died, and the rest of her team had also died in the bottom lane. So tower goes down, more kills for Fnatic, and this is just outplaying on a macro level in these lane swaps. Again, it's not taking the first tower, it's not taking the second tower, it's what happens after. And I just like that play with kill tier 1 top, take Rift Herald. Again, normally give it to a jungler, but give it to AD carry kind of gives the same. Take that big wave on bot side, because you know the enemy top lane is trying to freeze that wave, so it's already pretty far pushed up, and then push it into tier 2.
Even in the mirror, you still win out because you have the stronger, minions, and because you make that play and you gravitate 4 towards bot, you can always teleport your top laner in, because their AD carry is stuck on the other side. So it's kind of a win-win situation for Fnatic here, and they're obviously reading the game.
And we so often talk about this, you know, how fast can you kill these towers in lane swap, and how important it is to be 5-6 seconds ahead. And a lot of people feel like, oh, it's not that important, but it is, because that's why you can set up plays like this. And you know, the other team has only one real response that's trying to defend, and that's not good. Let's see what happens.
He'll try and fight again. Clyde, this time caught a little bit far forward as well.
He missed.
Collateral damage gonna miss. That's a huge job coming away from Spirit. He sets it up beautifully. Fate's call comes in though. Marta now wants to get out of dodge, but Whoosh is gonna stay. He takes down Reckless. Gamsu now in the mix, but he's got 2 to deal with, and Shahu makes the rotation through. He gets the shutdown gold on Gamsu, and Spirit and Clyde have to back off very sheepishly.
Yeah, really big cast there from Spirit. Puts MLXG in the casket. He goes down. But then Clyde, he was a little bit overextended forward. You know, wanted to get that tower a little bit too hard. Fnatic, the thing I want to point out is look at how massive this wave is. Every single tower push Fnatic is doing is assisted by so many minions overall.
Yeah, and this of course starts with that wave that was pushing by Kalista before, slow pushing out, but Clyde making the classic support mistake. You are melee, you're like, I'm gonna help kill this tower. And then he stands too far, and that starts the fight, and he's now no longer able to peel for his AD carry, meaning that Kalista can go aggressive in the back line. Alistar is out, so Clyde, in this case, your damage is not relevant on the tower. Just stay back, peel for your backline, and then this fight would never have happened.
Also, if he ever, you know, uses his heal, he activates his passive, his trample, and then anybody just needs to walk next to him to force him to get tower aggro. So it's never worth for an Alistar to even get remotely under the tower, because your job is to peel and disengage.
I mean, if there's anyone that we are seeing getting caught by being too far forward, Fnatic, it is Clyde. But now, Lupa may actually be the one caught. Gamsu wants to come forward. Frozen domain being used, but you can see rotations coming in from the mid lane here. So, I mean, if Gamsu is going to make a run of this, he's going to have to get out.
No, he realizes it, because you always can look at your minimap, right? You see 4 people from your team on the bottom side, and you don't see anybody else from their team. Well, it is very likely that they're on the way to kill you. And this time, Gamsu doesn't fall for it.
Fnatic needs to push mid here, though, to try and force RNG to not just take that.
Xiaohu's in the jungle right now. He didn't stay mid for wave clear. This would have been a solid play from RNG if they left the Victor in the mid, but he's now going to get zoned off by Spirit. So Fnatic actually turning on the pressure.
Oh, Lupa didn't get tower either, and they're tanking it.
Keep his verdicts being used. Gamsu's going to come forward, but Whoosh close by. You can see RNG always sort of tending towards that top side of the map, and now Reckless going to use that curtain call, but Marta studiously has that shield up just to keep his teammates nice and healthy.
And meanwhile, Fnatic pushing mid. There is still a chance for a collapse here from RNG. They're coming in.
Marta is going to go with the Winter's Bite there. Doesn't connect, but there's a teleport coming in. Clyde positions himself forward here. But Fnatic, they're on the wrong side of this lane. RNG is setting up. They're going to collapse.
Oh, it's the tower!
Great headbutt back into the tower. Xiaohu's going to be caught up, and the ground and pound comes in. He didn't know what hit him, and now RNG are trying to back away as 4 here. Winter's Bite to slow Reckless down, but Forbidden is off towards the side. There's the exhaust. Whoosh is going to get completely destroyed here. Forbidden coming through. Whoosh finally drops. Marta now as well trying to back away, and Lupa, they share the same fate. They both go down, and that is a 4 kills already.
That's going to be an ace.
Has to escape, and Reckless with a flash forward. He wants to make it happen. One more, and he'll have it too. Somehow the flash.
W? No.
Oh.
And MLXG just defying death for the moment, but I think it's pretty clear he's going to die one way or another. just tempting Fnatic to try and waste their time with him.
He needs to buy more time, like maybe a second more. Does he get it? Yeah, there we go.
Executed.
Still, 4 kills for Fnatic. It looked like they were being trapped by RNG, but the difference was there was no tower in the mid lane for RNG, but there was for Fnatic. And this is one of the things I really like about Cly. He makes a mistake before, doesn't matter. He's still ready to make a play right after. He's in the front line here on the outside. And then he sees, okay, we have a tower. And look at Xiaohu here on this Victor. He's so far behind. And then he moves close to tower. Instant Cly spots it and is like, thank you very much.
Yeah, it's a creative move here from him to do that Xiaohu with no flash available up. I like that Cly spaces out the combo there to go for the knockback into the knock up under the tower. And at this point, yeah, the fight's over. 5v4, Victor's out of the fight.
Cly, you're not stuck in. I'm not stuck in here with you. You're stuck here with me. Look at the press through as well.
Yeah, and then Cly, he does make some of these mistakes going over eager, but at least he's proactive and he's not afraid to make that aggro move again, you know. And obviously he trained in the grounds in solo queue over in Europe. And if you want to get high in solo queue in Europe, you gotta be tilt free. So that's really good.
You have to be aggressive in multiple ways.
Yep.
I don't know how NLXG actually escaped there as well. It was one auto attack would have done it, but well-timed flash over the wall. At least he's going to be able to go over towards the Rift Herald, picks up the buff, that's MLXG, and continues to go towards blue here. The dust may just settle. Spirit gets the steal. That is a very cheeky man, and the blue ring goes to the big man.
Spirit stepped up this tournament, man. The later games he's played, so fantastic performance on Lee Sin with the flanks, the kicks, now on the Gragas too. Really essential for Fnatic to be that front line. Now he's finally giving some space in these fights for Febiven and Reckless to step into and just deal their damage.
Just the entire synergy for Fnatic, and the fact, again, they have more early game punch than some of these pick and ban phases where Crepo, you and I, we were almost crying after watching it with like Maokai, Gangplank mid, and Ezreal, and we were just like 30 minutes scaling and nothing else.
It's our version of the Notebook. We watch it together
basically, yeah,
multiple times and cry.
Cry and cuddle and whatever happens. Issue is for Fnatic, when they run these late game comps, Spirit has no impact in the game because he can't. If you have losing lanes, as a jungler, you can't do anything.
5 turrets to 2 now for Fnatic, and that gold lead is creeping up a little bit. Now, this is supposed to be the period where RNG start finding fights, opening up the map, and actually getting ahead in gold, but they don't seem to be off to a great start on that count.
Yeah, now it's for Fnatic to prove what they're doing with the synergy. How can they close? Because now, for a lot of these games Fnatic have played, they were kind of behind and did a phenomenal comeback, you know, that everybody was very happy about. But now Fnatic are convincingly in the lead, and they need to close. And step 1 to closing is obviously Deep Vision.
And step 2 is catching out the enemy support.
Pillar of Frost is going to catch Mother out. We do see the Glacial Fissure used just to try and back them off, and it may have worked for now, but MLXG somehow finds himself in the front line. We do see Curtain Call coming across the top. Reckless, not sure about what target he wants here, but MLXG falls. The snipe is real right now. Febiven did go down. Fnatic now just regrouping a moment.
One thing Fnatic has always done well was playing 1-3-1 split pushing. They understand the value of pushing all 3 lanes at the same time, and you're almost holding hands. Even though it's through the jungle, you have to have really long arms. When you push down together, you make it almost impossible for the other team then to break this 1-3-1, because if you gank the bot lane, well, then your top tower dies, or your mid tower dies. And that's what Fnatic does well, and they're going in again!
Spirit, big flash, big ult, and a big kill. Now Xiaohu as well forced to Zhonya's, but Fnatic look on, just waiting, licking their lips to get that kill. Marta charges in, fearless and brave, but will it be enough? I don't think so. Gamsu fell, of course, to Victor. Fnatic will probably disengage.
Yeah, they're trading kills for kills here overall. Fnatic getting the better end of it though, 2 for 1. In the jungle, it was a 1 for 1 trade overall. RNG managed to defend the tower, but
it's small things they're getting, but Fnatic every single time seems to get just 1 or 2 more kills or an extra tower, a little bit more fun, because while all this fighting is going on, remember all these minions being pushed down that people have to clear, they often end up dying to towers.
Yeah, it's a little bit forced though, this play from Fnatic, because yeah, Mountain goes low, but the Fate's Call pulls him out, and then Febiven gets a bit surprised by this knockup, and he has to now to trade his life. So mid laner went from 100 HP to 0.
Yeah,
as opposed to a 20% HP MLXG. I think that was a little overeager from Febiven. But at this point, we are nitpicking. Fnatic so far, 5,000 gold up here in the semifinal. This is not something anybody really expected going into the tournament.
And we saw Looper had no teleport before, and he was sitting top, so Fnatic probably just made the call, 4v5. Febiven, as you said, a little bit too greedy, jumping forward. I think he also just lost control because Kalista was pulling in Braum, and that was the main target, so he actually clicked the ulti, and then when Braum gets pulled in, he kind of stops in place. And
yeah, he didn't expect that movement pattern. Also, it just shows you how good Braum is in fights against his Zed. If he can exhaust him and then get the knock-up, you only 4 auto attacks required to stun him, and then Fevin will get CC down. So this is why, just as you said, Fnatic will look likely to put him in the side lane, 1-3-1, unlock that 1v1 potential at least from the Zed, make vision in between the lanes, and then look for picks, then go for the objective.
And some very good things about this Fnatic comp is Jhin in mid lane has very long range on his wave clear, so he can sit very far back. Another catch maybe?
And also assist with the picks though if he uses the snare.
Fnatic coming down, we're trying to look to pick up the kills. Actually, RNG was sat there waiting for them to show. And now on the analysis desk, they were saying, can Fnatic hold on? Can they get to that point where RNG make mistakes? Now the question is, can Fnatic close out, capitalize on this lead and finish the game? 180-degree difference.
If Fnatic can play lane swap every game, then this strong early game of RNG is never going to be really impactful in any way possible, because in a lane swap, you don't play 2v2 or 1v1, you just play side lanes, you play PvE for most of the time. And that's why Fnatic have looked way stronger in this game.
Entire setup though, 1-3-1, split push the side lanes,
pushing.
Collapse for the mid lane. They're really just in complete control. They just need enough wards right now. That is the limiting factor, because you used to play 1-3-1 really well with just a bunch of wards or 2 side stones. Obviously, in this meta game, junglers no longer go side stones, so you can get lost in rotation a couple of times.
Right. You need a lot of pings. 5 pings, basically. 5 pings on every back, because you want to move these pings around.
Yep.
Start them in the river, then move them into enemy jungle when, again, you hold hands and move forward. Potential fight, maybe?
Pillar of Ice being used there. Spirit always the first one to come forward here, but perhaps he thought twice about it. We did see collateral damage being used at least across that one very, very early. There's the knock-up though. Nice glacial fissure. Whoosh is in the back line, trying to damage down Clyde, and the Chaos Storm comes over the top. Spirit getting towards the back of this one now. There's Reckless. He's waking up. Forbidden comes forward. It's Curtains. Oh my lord, it is Curtains for RNG at this stage. MLXG just trying to get away, but you better believe the Cow's coming to make that pasture his own.
RNG is just full panic mode here. Notice how to take a fight where Alistar and Gragas are already in the front line in a small choke point. You cannot hit anyone. Even Gamsu joins in, so it's all the tanks in the front. Reckless is just safe in the back.
We saw Mata miss the knockup with Fake Skull because he just wanted to kind of go around this beefy front line and knock up the back line, but he couldn't simply reach them. Good positioning in the back line by Fnatic, and the front line, double tank, giving the space. It looks like Fnatic's hardest task this game will actually just trying to avoid dying to this Baron, which they succeed, and
there it is,
multiple
boys.
times got 4 kills, 5 kills against his RNG squad.
So look here at the position from Fnatic. Spirit in front line, then Clyde's gonna join the front line, Gamsu from the flank. That means you can't really move past this massive front line here. Great CC from Clyde, Gamsu in here. Fevin, even though he gets engaged on, is safe. Reckless up until this point is almost untouched. He got an exhaust, and that was about it. And here's the ulti. Your front line will just take so much time to kill, and therefore you win fights.
Yeah, and then exit stage right. Here's Clyde, and that's Curtains. Or RNG.
This is also RNG's downfall in the LPL, though. If they are 10,000 gold ahead or 10,000 gold behind, it doesn't change the way they play.
It's not a structured plan to get back into the game. It's let's fight, let's fight. Have we tried fighting yet? Let's try fighting one more time.
But to be fair, I can't even blame them in this one. I actually think you have to just take crazy team fights this far down, because we mentioned this Victor pick coming into the game. Against 1-3-1, he has so little value. He's built now with Hourglass. He's actually not even very strong despite picking up 3 kills. No one can stand in the bottom lane against the Zed. So even though you are super far behind and you could technically try and turtle, you will lose something at a point because you can't defend all 3 lanes, and therefore try and go for fights, honestly, and see if you can just punish Fnatic if they misplay a team fight.
Hands draw closer around the throat of RNG. Fnatic now pressing in towards this mid lane, but look, they're playing the 3-1-1 as well. They've got every lane pushing, every lane coming straight in towards the face of RNG. RNG definitely have to wonder how they're going to work around this one here. So much damage being done to that mid tower.
And even better for Fnatic, they managed to take these early dragons because they were so far ahead in the lane swap, meaning they have the burn on the towers, making it so much easier for 1-3-1 to break into the base. It's always a problem when you get to inhib towers. It's hard then to break in and kill them. But when you have this burn from the second dragon, it becomes a lot easier.
Yeah, with the Baron buff, the burn, the individual lead they have. Fnatic right now, it feels like the package is better, like in total as a team, they're working a lot better, but individually so many members stepping up. Like we also always joke, is it gonna be Gamsu or Gatsu this time? And he's played fantastic so far in the tournament. Spirit too, it looks like everybody has leveled up on Fnatic.
Was a minute inhibitor down now, and RNG have got to fight at some point. I think they might start here. Mata in the mix. It was a big knock up towards Fnatic, but Reckless just blew him the heck up. MLXG gets started on. Wushin got knocked into enemy territory, and now they're trying to pressure towards Forbidden, but it's another curtain call here, and this might be the final one. MLXG trying to get back. Xiao, who somehow escaped, but he's got to sit in the fountain and wait now. That was a 4-for-0. Fnatic looks like they know how to close up the game. Perfect start for Fnatic. They, gentlemen, are going to finish this off and go 1-0 in this semi-final.
After we try and kill the Victor in the fountain.
Oh, just because they can.
Uno mas.
all right, Fnatic. I like your style. I like the cut of your jib, gentlemen. All smiles for Fnatic right now, and it's a great start for them. The evolution that we've been seeing over this weekend may be continuing.
Yeah, but this is something that really irks me or upsets me when teams have a very predictable play being set up over a period of time against them, and they don't read it. RNG, they saw Fnatic take the Herald, they saw the base, they saw where all the lanes were. The AD carry had the buff around him. It doesn't get more obvious than that. It's like they have a giant sign, hello, we will push your bot lane. MLXG passed blind into the jungle to get some vision. He dies while Woosh and Mata in the top lane, and that was the key moment in this game. It just shows that RNG, not lane swaps, yeah, people look at it like, yeah, what do we do first tower, second tower, but as this gets perfected,
Yes.
there's a decision tree that you have to follow. Then you start looking at like the third tower you're gonna siege.
This was the big advantage we said most of the Western teams will have over the Chinese teams, is that when it comes to lane swapping, every time you feel like, okay, now we understand lane swap, you add another layer to it. You always find something new you can do, and it's turned into this, you know, keep swapping lanes for the first 10, 15 minutes, and you can see RNG has only managed to understand the first part where you take down the tier 1 towers. Now they gotta learn another part, otherwise Fnatic will lane swap again and could potentially set up the same kind of play. So this is exactly why we pointed out that these LPL teams, understanding the macro lane swap to perfection almost, it's not there.
Well, Fnatic are starting things off with a bang and definitely putting smiles on their own faces and those of the European fans. Let's see if they can keep the dream alive, but for now, let's pass it over to our expert desk and they can break this one down under the microscope.
Thank you very much, guys. What a convincing win for Fnatic. They started strong, they got a lead, and they pushed it further. I mean, why would they give them away Jin?
I think we have to start with the big bans here. I mean, we talked about this coming into the game, but Royal decides they're going to ban out a Lee Sin, a Thresh, and a Nautilus. First off, I think you just first pick the Nautilus, like I said, and you take out the Rammus and the Jin. That way, you force Fnatic away from some of these picks. The Jin worked very well again. But that wasn't the only thing, obviously, that happened, as the casters were just going over. These lane swap situations caused them to fall so far behind. And when you get that far behind, against a 1-3-1 split pushing comp, let's think about their wave clear. Poppy, well, that's not going to help. Blade of the Ruined King versus Kalista, that's not going to help either. And I think that one of the worst decisions that Royal made was Whoosh not getting Hurricane first onto Kalista, so at least they would have some form of wave clear against a 1-3-1 comp that was so far ahead.
Yeah, definitely the case. We've got a replay, actually, of that first siege. Let's pull it up onto your screen. It is a little bit of build-up, so I just want to highlight the fact that it's not the first time that this has happened. The Rift Herald was secured, it's Fnatic pushing down on the bottom lane, and then they're going to stop this dive, Monty.
Yeah, and like Crepo said, this play was very predictable from when and where they got the Herald buff, and so they're just zoning them off the backside of the turret here, as expected. And then they're going to TP in because Royal just overcommits. MLXG is too far up, and of course, you're not going to be able to retreat once the Pillar of Ice is there, once the Alistar is comboing you. They can simply walk between the towers and take everybody out.
I think one of the great things about this part too is, yeah, Fnatic used the Rift Herald buff, but this was kind of the beginning of Fnatic being very, very good about being decisive, about jumping on members of RNG that were out of position a little bit, getting those kills. I mean, that's what really snowballed the most, right? Is whenever they were able to find an RNG member that was vulnerable, they immediately jumped on him, immediately took him out. It's really impressive stuff.
It was, especially when you consider how many times Fnatic made mistakes trying that yesterday.
Yeah.
Like, it felt like there was a lot more coordination. It also felt like as a team when they were committing, they didn't have that lag or that delay that we're experiencing yesterday, Toa.
It's a lot tighter, that's for sure. I'm a popular guy with the camera right now.
I do think it may seem harsh to criticize a team that just won a game in 25 minutes.
Yeah.
But I do think Fnatic overcommitted to some of those dives just a little bit of the time. I think they could have taken a breather. They were snowballing very fast anyway. You don't want to give your enemy an opportunity to trade evenly when they're down. Give them time to defend. I think they could have set up some more sieges, especially in that mid lane tier 2. But that's a really, really small quibble, right?
Yeah.
And Royal has to figure this out. They completely got dominated by the pressure, and without any kind of wave clear, without any of these items, they looked lost. So beyond the problems that I think are in picks and bans for Royal, in that we've seen Fnatic do so well with this Jhin, it stretches into even deeper territory when it's just an inability to play the map early.
Right. Well, I mean, if we jump ahead to around like 12-20 in the game right now, RNG finds himself in an even worse position. I mean, they find themselves between Fnatic's turret and Fnatic the team, and that's not where you want to be, especially if there's an Alistar around to headbutt you underneath it, as we're going to see in our next replay.
Yeah, pull it up onto the screen, and I quite like this play because this was a signal to me that Fnatic were actually finding some confidence, and they get the tower, roll the clip out, teleport comes in, and Fnatic go, hang on a minute, you've made a mistake. And then they decide to initiate Monty.
And we criticized Clive for his Alistar play yesterday, but he finds the right. He's just waiting for it. And you can see they're standing in a line and slowly zoning them backwards until they can get Xiaohu right underneath the mid turret. And it just starts off this chain reaction where now they're in a 4v5 situation on the wrong side of the map. Royal has to run. There's simply too much engage coming through here from the members of Fnatic, and it's a pretty easy cleanup, and they just get a huge number of kills.
Yeah, I mean, just looking at Clay again, too, this is a guy that we talked about this, you know, he was playing solo queue a few weeks ago, right? And now he's making plays like that. What a meteoric rise for this player.
Yeah, I completely agree. I want to see if he can keep it up for the rest of the series. For now, though, Chobra, okay, go for it.
I want to see if he can play more than 2 champions.
Ah, that's a good question, too.
I don't care. I just want him to play well. Right now, we're going to head to Chobra, who's waiting on the floor.
Thank you very much, gentlemen, at the expert desk. I am here. I'm just going to dub this now the question desk because I return with 2 more questions. The first one is, of course, how are you enjoying the Intel Extreme Masters World Championships? We are on our final day, and we want you to let us know with hashtag IEM. How are you watching it? You are watching it with of course, 2 monitors. I mean, we live in this day and age where you got to have 2 monitors so you can enjoy everything. You are video chatting with your friends and watching it while you're doing homework. Ooh, I don't know if I really recommend that one, but I do appreciate it because you're still watching some great League of Legends and with your Puros. That is awesome. Continue to tell us how you're enjoying today as we continue towards the final here in the Spodek Arena. But the real question is, I said I came with 2 questions. The real question is, will Jhin get banned next game? Let us know. Hashtag IEM. Do we want to see Jhin banned or not? Let's find out right after this break.
Kog'Maw is a champion we've seen from TSM, but no one else so far this tournament.
Now, not